What's up, guys? My name is Alex Bill, A-Bill Pipes. Today we're going to be restoring a couple briar pipes that I have. This is a hobby that I do. I buy them off eBay usually in a lot, and I get them and I restore them, and then I usually resell them. Not too expensive, usually around the $10 to $15 mark, depending on the brand. Occasionally I'll get some good ones and the price will go up. I'm not really looking to make a profit off of it, but it's something I do for fun. So I guess we'll start and take a look. Alright, so today we've got a couple pipes here. This is an alcohol bath. Essentially, when I get them, I strip them of all of their stains usually, cleans them up, gets the stuff inside and outside of the briar a little bit cleaner, makes it easier to clean out the inside of them. So you'll see it comes out of the bath and it looks kind of like this. Let me just dry it off real quick. So it kind of looks like this. Let's see if it'll focus. Let's see here. Yeah, so it looks like this when it comes out of the bath. It looks really dark, but that's just because the alcohol hasn't dried yet. I've got 4 in the bath right now. So you got this one. You'll see here. See if it'll focus. This one's more rustic. It's got a nice rusticated finish on it, so I probably won't do a lot of sanding with this one. Just see if I can touch it up and then give it a buff. Then we've got this one here. So let's see here. So this one's got some nice grain patterns and a nice metal piece down at the shank. So hopefully this one will look nice when it's done. Alright, and then we got one more here. And this is the last one. So this one's got, it's a little bit more beat up than the others, so hopefully it'll look alright when it's finished. Alright, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so you'll see I kind of put on some disposable gloves. It can get kind of dirty when you're doing this, so I like to put on some gloves and make sure that my hands aren't getting stained and kind of gunked up. You'll see that I usually start here with a sanding block. I'm not sure what grit this is. It didn't have a specific grit number, but I find it's good to kind of clean up the outside of the briar to start with. So yeah, so I just start usually and I just go around and see if I can clean up the outside of the briar, give it a nice little breakdown here to start. Yeah, so I'll do this, make sure I get all the edges off and get anything down that's just that basic outside, and then we start with some sandpaper. Alright? So the next step is going to be to use a pipe reamer like this, and you're gonna ream the inside of the pipe. So this one, let me see if I can show you there. Let's see if I can get a good view of what's going on in there. So the cake's not too bad on this one. It's alright, but I'm gonna just ream it down just a little bit and get the rest of the gunk out. It looks like it was previously reamed, but it should be okay for right now. So just move this out of the way here. So basically all you're going to do is just stick your pipe tool in. You're going to ream it just a little bit, so you'll see that some of the stuff starts to fall out. And so see, that's kind of what's on the inside of the bowl. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller just because the bowl's a little small. And basically you just ream it out until you don't have any more of that black stuff on the inside. Sometimes some people like to leave a cake. I prefer to get it out just because it kind of grosses me out a little bit. You know, I try not to go down to bare briar because that'll leave some of the cracks on. You know, if it cracked at all through heat, a lot of that old tobacco will actually seal some of those heat cracks. So I don't go down to bare wood, but I do try to get most of the cake out of there if I can, and start fresh with it. So we'll take a look inside here. So it's looking okay. Yeah, so I'll finish this up and we'll bring you to the next step. Alright, so this is what the brier's looking like right now. It actually is pretty clean for being an estate pipe. I think it's going to look pretty good. It's got some nice bird eye. I don't know if you can see that or not. But I think this one will turn out pretty good. Cleaned out the cake on the inside. Came out fairly easy, and it'll be pretty good. So the next step is going to be to hit it with some sandpaper. So I start usually with, I go 400, 600, 1500 for the fine finish, and in between those what I do is I hit it with some steel wool, and this steel wool will basically just clean up any of the extra dirt and stuff on it, and give it a nice shine so I can kind of actually see what it's going to be like in between the layers. So we'll start off with some 400. So I'll hit it with this 400, and then what we'll do is we'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Alright, so we just finished the 400, so now it looks like this. So just clean it up a little bit. We'll hit it with the steel wool, and I'll show you what the difference does for it. So let's see. It won't have much of a difference on the 400 grit, but once you get in the higher grits, basically the briar kind of like cakes up on itself. So the steel wool really does wonders and allows you to kind of see where you're at with the pipe, and it smooths everything out for you. So yeah, after the steel wool you kind of get a look like this. So now it gets kind of shiny, and that's just after 400. So what we'll do is we'll hit it with a 600, and I'll come back to you. Okay, so this is after 600 with a wire. So you'll notice it got darker, and that's because this I have a little bit of oil on it. So what it does is it brings out the grain in the pipe and makes it a little bit darker, and so you can kind of see where the pipe is headed. It might not be the way a lot of people do that, but I just do it because I think it makes it look nice. So you can see that it's starting to get some really nice grains, and all I've done is sanded it with a little bit of oil on that. It's actually left over from some other of my restores, but you'll notice it's coming out really, really good. So we're gonna hit it with 1500 real quick, and basically what I'm gonna do is hit it with a 1500, take a look at it and decide if I want to stain it or not. I probably will, just because I want to play around with the stain a little bit more. It's going to be a mahogany stain. So, alright. Alright, so this is the stem for this pipe. So in order for me to clean the stems, what I do is I give them an OxiClean bath, which creates this oxidation look on them. We'll clean it up. It's not going to be that big of a deal. This cleans the insides and the outsides and make sure that there's no gunk on them. So what I do for this, just to make sure that it's all good, I'll throw it onto the pipe like this. We'll go back and grab some 600, and what we'll do is you just kind of, you're going to want to make sure that you sand it while it's on the pipe like this. We probably should have done this from the get-go, but it'll be okay because it's got a metal stem. So you're just going to sand this down so it meets the metal. You're going to want to be careful if there's any logos or anything on this. This particular one doesn't have any. It's pretty much just a generic Italian briar. I believe it's Italian. But yeah, so we'll just sand it down. You'll see that it kind of already started to start sanding it, and basically we'll figure it out from there. It'll look alright once it's done. So alright, so I just hit it with some 600 and then some 1500, and then obviously some of this to kind of give it a shine and shine it up. So overall she's looking pretty nice. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give her a quick mahogany leather dye bath, and we'll see how she looks afterwards. So let me just show you that process. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna fill this with a little bit of this, and I'm gonna cut it with some alcohol, and then we'll apply that to the pipe. So I'll let me fill this up quick, and I'll show you that process. So I'll just take some of this. I'm gonna put the same stuff that I put in my that I just cleaned it with, because I don't have any other alcohol with me at the moment. This is probably not best practice, but you know, I'm gonna do it anyways. As long as it's pretty clean, should be okay. We'll close this up. You'll notice it's brown. That's just the side effect of when you clean it. You can use these baths over and over and over again, as long as you clean out the residue every once in a while. But for the most part, you can use these, I mean, a bunch of times until the alcohol is literally just black. Alright, so you'll notice I put some of that in there, and then we're going to take some of this Feeblings. This stuff is super staining, so you got to be very, very careful. You'll notice it already stained my glove right there. It's super staining, so just be careful and take note of that. And then I'll just drop some of that in here. You're going to want to be very, very careful, because this stuff will stain and not come off for days. Alright, so then we'll set this aside. Just be very careful, like I said. Then we'll take our little applicator and just stir it up in here. You're going to want to cut it with alcohol, because if you don't, it gets really dark on the pipe. So then I'm going to actually take the stem out here. You can usually clean this off of metal, so I'm not too worried about like filtering that off or anything. It should be okay. Alright, so now we're just going to apply it on there. Make sure you're using paper towels underneath, because it'll drip like that. And then what we'll do is we'll take a lighter and burn it off. So if you want to hand me a lighter real quick. Thank you. Just make sure it gets nice and on there, all over the place. Apply. You don't want to try to get it in the bowl too much, but I mean, mistakes happen. Can you grab me a different lighter, please? It's one that's not my pipe lighter. There should be one over there on the desk. Sorry about that, guys. Just 1 second here. Alright, so then I'm going to take this, just Bic lighter, and just kind of light it on. Basically what that will do was, we'll basically just dry it really quick, because it's an alcohol-based stain. So I just catch it on fire. Be careful you don't catch your gloves on fire. Did that last time. So that'll happen occasionally. I just light this up. It's just really quick. And then you'll have a pretty much done stain. So it looks really dark like this afterwards. You'll notice some of the spots are not completely dry yet, but that's okay. So it's gonna look really dark like this. This is the part where you have to kind of take it the way you want to. So once this is dry, what we'll do is you can kind of sand some of it off. You can leave it dark if you want. What I typically do is sand it right off and try to get a really nice grain pattern going. So you'll notice that the grain will really pick up the dark color, but if you can sand around the grain, you'll get a really nice polished look at the end. So right now it looks kind of bad, but you'll see the effects afterwards. So now that I've done that, I'm basically just going to take a 600 and go back and hit all the spots over again. This is, like I said, up to you, so this part is kind of where you take creative freedom and start where you want to. So I'm going to go through and just lighten up the stain a little bit, and we'll take a look how she looks at the end. So yeah. Alright, so this is what it looks like after I sanded it. So you'll see that the grain is popping really nicely now. Nice and sanded down. It's got some nice bird eye. So really great. I actually took sandpaper and sanded it off the top, just for a stylistic choice. I'm gonna probably sand it down just a little bit more before I apply anything else. just so that's really bright and the rest is super dark, just for a stylistic thing. And then what I'll do is I'll add some oil to it, and I'll shine it up with this before I continue to the buffing phase. That's something that I do. A lot of people don't do that. I do it just for ease of mind, and I think it looks nice. It gives it a nice little glow before you start to buff. But yeah, so I'll do that, and we'll get going from there. So let me just sand down the top a little bit more, and then I'll show you this shining process. Alright, so for this, I just added some oil, my secret recipe oil, on here, and then basically I'm just gonna buff it on. This is just one of the final steps I take before I add it to the machine and buff it out. You'll notice it's starting to look really, really good. Let's see here. So you notice the top is a lot lighter than the sides. Yeah, I just did that for added effect. I think it looks cool. So yeah, we'll just get this on here real quick. Alright. Buff out the stem. So yeah, so now you go from that crappy looking thing to this really beautiful grain that you can see here. The oil really pops the grain on our end, just to kind of see it a little bit more. That's why I use it. But yeah, no, she's looking really good. And so in the next segment, we'll start buffing. Alright, so for the next part, we're going to be buffing on this buffing wheel here. I always use brown Tripoli, and then we go to, this is the white buffing, white diamonds, and we have carnauba wax at the end. So yeah, so we'll start with some brown, and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. So turn this guy on and let's get going. So one quick thing to mention before we continue is you'll notice that this is pretty dirty. It gets really dirty really fast. So do this in an environment that you're not going to mind getting dirty. I've got a little workshop in my room that I use, so we'll just go from there. Alright, so then we'll start buffing. Alright, so one thing you're going to want to have is just a towel to keep around so you can get any excess buffing stuff or buffing compound off of it. So you notice it's looking a lot shinier now. This is after just buffing with brown Tripoli. So it's looking really great now. I'm going to hit it with some white. Obviously you're going to want the compounds on different buffing pads, but yeah, other than that, it's pretty good. Alright, so just hit it with the white diamond. It's looking really, really good now. So you'll see it's super shiny now, and we still have one layer of carnauba wax to put on. I really love how the top came out. That's probably my favorite part. I'll show you some really good pictures at the end too. And we'll go from there. But yeah, the metal band's looking great. Everything's looking really solid on it. So we just got one more layer of carnauba wax to buff on, and she'll be good. Alright, so this is the finished product. You'll see it came out super good if I can get it to focus here. Let's see here. If I can get it to focus on you. There it goes. So it came out gorgeous. I love this. Mahogany stain came out really nice. Bottom is kind of dark. Great. I think it came out really nice. So I'll do a nice little photo shoot for you guys at the end so you can kind of see how it looks. And other than that, yeah, came out great. Hope you guys learned something. Alright, this is A-Bill Pipes, and I'm signing off.